When life knocks you down, and life will knock you down, try to land on your back. Because if you can look up, you can get up. Welcome to Fire with Dr. Ninja Turtle.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Fire with Dr. Ninja Turtle. I want to admit that I am a bad employee, but a good worker. And what this brings up is I've seen on YouTube videos since I've retired that people talk about the difference between being a hard worker and a good employee. And by that, I mean that there were two topics that came up on YouTube. One was called being quiet fired. Another one was called quiet quitting. I did these things before YouTube invented these names for them. What happened to me was when I started my government job, I was living in Vermont and they laid off the entire company at Christmas time. So everybody was looking for a job. Whole families were laid off. And so I started looking for a job and I got a job with the federal government. And I was a PC desktop service person. So basically at the bottom of the IT department. And what happened for me was during that time, I had a boss that told me when I asked for a raise, he said, "We can't have the tail wagging the dog." And I thought to myself, wait a minute, I'm the dog, you're the tail. That was a turning point for me. So I started applying at other parts of the organization and I got 2 or 3 promotions. I ended up moving from Vermont to Miami to DC. And then I got 3 college degrees while I was at the court. And it was at this time that the president said we need to shrink the federal government, and my bosses decided Daryl's expendable. Some people lost their jobs. I was able to keep my job, but with a 30% pay cut. And this is when I was quiet fired. I didn't know I was being quiet fired. It just happened. And this is also when I quiet quit. I said, you know what? My focus is going to be on the things that matter to me. The job is secondary. And so I want to talk for a second about the book, Who Moved My Cheese? That book was pivotal to me because what it talks about is always looking far beyond in the future. If you start to see that this is no longer working for you, then start looking for something that is working for you. So what happened for me was when I was quiet fired and I quiet quit, I stayed at that job for 10 more years. Because I had a goal. It had nothing to do with the job. The job just paid my bills from day to day. But anything after I got off of work, I was working on my future. And so the job became secondary. And what I want to ask is that, when I was quiet fired, that's when I was demoted. I still had the title of system administrator, but they gave me 3 additional jobs in addition to my system administrator job. And I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. So please like, subscribe, and if you know someone who's been knocked down by life and is getting back up, please share this video with them. In the comments, please share, how does your employer serve you and your future plans? Because for me, it's not about me serving them and giving them 110% of all of my time when I'm working and when I'm not working. When I used to go on vacation, I had to take my laptop and my cell phone in case there was an emergency at the office. I had to log in and fix that emergency, even if I was on vacation. But once I quiet quit, I no longer did that. I no longer monitored emails on weekends. I no longer did any of that. So in the comments, please put, how does your employer serve you and your future plans? Now, I talked about 3 extra jobs. One was I had to get rid of excess IT equipment. 2, I had to go back to, and all of this is in addition to my system administrator job. I had to go back to being desktop support. I also had to move IT equipment for the executives' offices when they were getting remodeled. So I might have to remove 4 or 5 PCs, but I had to stay late at work until everyone had finished and gone home, take out all the PCs, wait for the carpet or the paint to be done, and then I had to be at work at 5 a.m. the morning before everyone came back and have everyone's PCs set back up so when they arrived back in their office, they could start work immediately. And those were some of my extra jobs. So I did all those jobs and my system administrator job for the next 10 years. Now this is with a 1% pay increase for that next 10 years because I had a goal. I wanted a pension and I was focused on getting my PhD and being a teaching assistant. And what I did with that extra money that I made was I invested in real estate because I knew someday I'm going to get that pension. I'm going to retire early and take off and live off of my real estate. So what I want to talk about is in my last annual review, and this is when I decided that it was time. My last annual review, they wanted to give me a 4th job of being the assistant to the cybersecurity person and do all of his menial day-to-day tasks so that he could travel the country and go to conferences. And that was it. I had had enough. You know, one, I was so old, I was tired of crawling up under desks, removing PCs and putting PCs back. And also I said, you know what? They demoted me, they cut my pay 30%, and now they're giving me a 4th or 5th job to do. And that was enough. That was enough. So what I want to do is I want to share with you the quote of the day, which is think big, believe big, act big, and the results will be big. Remember this, your past does not determine your future.